On today's Live with Laura, we are having the conversation millions of Americans are having off camera. What's with these weight loss medicines? The pick, the jab, the shot. Everyone is talking about it, myself included. I just had a conversation with a coworker this morning about it. So why not have that conversation on camera so we can really learn together? To do that, we are happy to have Shannon Shores and also Jordan Kimler, both with Premier U, with us. Ladies, it's so good to see you.
Great to see you.
Thank you for having us.
So Jordan, you're a nurse practitioner, so I want to start with you. I still, even though we've heard of Ozempic and all the other ones for a few years now, there are still questions of what exactly is this thing and how does it work?
Yeah.
Would you please explain?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of confusion regarding the naming of the medications, right? So semaglutide is essentially kind of the generic name for Ozempic, Wegovy, Rybelsus. They're FDA approved for weight loss as well as diabetes. So been on the market for about over 12 years at this point. So it's been well studied in unwell patients for over a decade. Then kind of shifting gears, the newer drug class is the GLP-1 GIP called tirzepatide, which goes by the name of Mounjaro or Zepbound. So technically they're two different peptides, two different medications. So I think there's a lot of confusion between the naming. People are trying to compare doses, which we'll get into is so dangerous overall. Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned off the top that this has been well researched in unwell patients, because even yesterday I was speaking with a gentleman. I don't even know how this came up. But he said, I just don't think there's enough research yet. What do you say to people who do feel that way?
Yeah, exactly what I just said, right? It's been studied in unwell patients for over a decade. My background was primary care. I was prescribing these medications. So you're talking about patients that have a lot of comorbidity conditions, even stroke history, heart attack history that they have been studied in. And they have, at this point too, we have the data of well patients on these medications. So I think that is patients saying that essentially like they just don't understand. So sitting down with them, like what is their apprehension? What have they heard? Going through benefits versus risk for that individual patient.
Another common thing I hear as we talk about these just in common conversation is I'm so worried about the side effects. What are some of the side effects?
Yeah. So GI issues are the most common. So nausea, constipation, diarrhea, acid reflux, which everyone goes, oh my gosh. But I have found in my practice, since I've treated over 5,000 patients with these peptides, that ultimately the benefits outweigh the risks for the majority of patients if they're dosed appropriately.
I'm glad you brought that up early because I just had another conversation. As I said, like these conversations are happening nonstop. I just had a conversation this morning with someone telling me about someone in their circle who got this medicine from, she said, honestly, I don't even know where. It was somewhere online. And the dosage said 7.5 for the first dose. And she did that. And what ended up happening was something so severe that she not only decided she needed to go to the ER, she had an ambulance take her. Is 7.5?
It's a very high dose. Majority of patients in my practice are not on 7.5 milligrams of tirzepatide.
Especially on dose 1, I'm guessing.
Correct.
So just hearing that, how much anxiety as an actual provider, nurse practitioner, does that give you?
A lot, right? Because there are real side effects to these medications and peptides, and that's why it's so important that you're working with someone that understands your medical history, understands your goals, is going to be able to support you through the nutrition advice, the exercise, addressing the root causes, because I love these GLP-1 GIPs. They were life-changing for me. I lost 60 pounds with them almost 4 years ago. But you have to have the real conversation with a provider and a team that knows what they're doing.
You've mentioned peptides. This is a buzzword that I have just started hearing about in 2026. So as you use it, will you also define what that means?
Yeah, so a peptide is a short chain of amino acids. If you're not familiar with amino acids are building blocks of everything in our body, okay? So even the GLP-1s, GIPs, those are also peptides that kind of naturally occur in our body. Now, the peptide space is growing. There are a lot of coaches out there making recommendations, and it makes me scared, honestly, because do I think there's a utility for all of these peptides in some patients? Maybe, right? But you have to have a conversation once again with someone that has trained, that has the education, that has taken the time, learned about all of this, and has utilized these in their practice, not just within the last month. Right? And so we're seeing this a lot online, not just with tirzepatide or semaglutide. They're buying GHK copper for skin. They're buying melanotan to make their skin turn brown. There are real side effects to these peptides.
I didn't even know that was a thing. You mentioned you went on one of these 4 years ago and lost 60 pounds. That is amazing. Would you please share with our listeners and our viewers what led you on that path?
Yeah. So coming out of COVID 2020, I had my second daughter. I was postpartum. I delivered her February 23rd of 20. So we were home. My husband was home for a total of a week before we were all home. And I had a 3-year-old at the time. He was working from home. I was working primary care. It was just a lot. So I will tell you that I was stuck mentally, physically. I knew something was wrong. My husband is a personal trainer on the side. I know how to exercise. I know how to eat right. But I kept being told that you're too young to have hormone problems. Even though I was going back postpartum saying something's wrong. I think it's my thyroid, but at that time we weren't really drawing labs, we weren't going in to see our providers, so I was really stuck. So my weight just never really moved. In fact, it continued to go up, that with the stress of my job. So finally, after 2 years of just being tired of being tired, right? And realizing that this is not this is not normally where my weight lands, I decided to seek out a provider myself that specialized in more functional medicine. And her and I worked together, and she's like, Jordan, your insulin is sky high, your thyroid's not functioning appropriately, you have some micronutrient deficiencies. And so working on that together, I decided that maybe semaglutide would be a great option for me. It hit all these boxes that I was struggling with. Went to my husband, because I think it's important that I bring this up. He's a personal trainer. He's like, Jordan, no, I don't want you on this. This is 4 years ago, right? So he's like, I really don't want you on this. You're not diabetic. And I said, listen, like, something's got to give. Mentally, physically, I am struggling, and I have to get this weight off, right? I'm trying to eat better. I'm trying to exercise. I'm trying to do these things, but I feel like I'm just stuck. And so even without his support, and I'm honest about this, that I moved forward with it. And I will tell you, within 4 weeks, I just noticeably felt better. Inflammation was better. My joints didn't hurt. All of these things that I was experiencing, my sleep was improving. I felt more in control of my eating habits. And so all of that led to me losing 60 pounds. And personally, I never went above the second dose, ever.
So you are now staying at that same level?
As far as weight-wise or dosing?
The dosing.
No. Actually, I came off the peptide, the medication, for about 9 months. I was able to maintain my weight loss, but what I noticed was my inflammation and some of my biomarkers on my lab work were starting to change in a way I didn't want. And so ultimately, I decided to go back on half of starting dose. So that's where I've kind of landed, is half a starting dose.
So then is that every week?
I still do every week.
Okay.
Because even though there are people out there that are doing every other week, the medication, the peptide, was made for weekly injection. So over time, I like to do less medication, but just still keeping it weekly.
We've been sharing more of the provider aspect in this first part of the conversation. And Shannon, I want to bring you into this because, yes, you work at Premier U, but you've also experienced this medicine too.
Yeah, I have.
So what brought you to that point?
Yeah. So my journey started a couple years ago because I was all over the board, right? I'll be 48 in August, and I can say that I am in menopause. So what that means is I haven't had a cycle in over a year and a half now at this point, at 47. Which is early, right? But why I say that is that I was having hormone symptoms in my early 40s, my late 30s, and because I was not in that normal range, I was being gaslit, because I am someone who thinks 10 steps ahead. I'm always moving fast, right? So, of course, someone like me would be stressed, would be tired, would feel depleted, but I knew I wasn't feeling the same. And so coming in, I knew that I needed some structure around my hormones, but I was also carrying around 25 pounds. It just didn't feel right. So when people think about, do I have to take it if I'm 50, 60, 100 pounds overweight? No, I say that if it's at 10, 15, 20, 25, for me is that if you would see me, you'd been like, oh, girl, you look great, right? But we know when we hear that if we don't feel good in our skin, and that's where I was, Laura. Like some of those really cute clothes I had didn't fit anymore, and I had them in the closet. So I was getting that weight that just was sneaking up on me, and I needed someone to take me seriously. So I know when I got started with tirzepatide, I remember asking the question, probably just like, Chase, her husband, was saying to her of like, why would you do this? You can do it in other ways. That's probably what his thinking was, right? Being a personal trainer. I remember saying, am I taking the easy way out, right? Because I should be doing more. I should be doing better, right? I should figure this out myself if this 25 pounds came on. And I couldn't. I was doing the same things, and I was not getting any results, and it was crazy. Isn't that the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same things, looking for different results. And so getting on it, and I remember being told, well, if you could use a tool, not the plan, but a tool that could give you a short win right now, is that going to push you leaps and bounds into this journey? And I was like, yes, that's all I need. Right now I need a quick win. I didn't need 25 pounds off, but even 2 pounds off in 1 week just to say, oh, inflammation getting better. Oh, man, my rings, right? My face, energy. So as Jordan said, as those days turn into weeks and weeks turn into months, I just felt better. And it was that sense of relief. That wasn't the only thing I was looking at. Now I could be more mindful about, well, maybe I can look at my diet a little bit differently, or my energy. I had more energy to exercise more, but I needed it as a tool to win. So then also, too, that I could look at my hormones as the other side of it, and then it became a package deal. If I would have just ordered it online, like you were talking about your friends, or in that circle of friends, online pharmacies, if you've ever dealt with one, they give you a questionnaire, right? What are you feeling? This, and this. They never meet with you a lot of times, and they just send it to you. If I would only got a medication in the mail without having a program that was individualized to me, I wouldn't have been as successful.
And it's really scary.
And it's scary. A lot of people, when you ask them, do you know what you're actually taking from the online pharmacy? They don't know. They just saw some sexy ad that said, will it work for her or him? And you know what that to me, Laura, means is that we're desperate for answers. That's what we're going there. We want answers, but they have to be well-informed, supported answers.
But what's so fearful to me about that way of going online is, yeah, maybe they're showing this person. We don't know if that person's real.
Right.
That could be a complete AI. Who knows what?
Right.
They're most likely not real.
Or a stock photo from something else.
Exactly.
Yes.
Stolen from the plastic surgeon.
Yeah.
So let's talk about when someone has decided that they are ready to have the conversation about how to feel better. What are a few things that they should be thinking about when they sit across from a provider? Just like Shannon said, is this the easy way out?
Well, getting a good set of labs, right? Looking at micronutrient deficiencies, talking about nutrition, talking about sleep, talking about exercise. But I love the way Shannon said it. That's exactly what I say to my patients is this is just a tool in our toolbox, right? It's not the fix-all. It's absolutely not. But what I will kind of bring to the point now is that women, number one cause of death in women is heart disease, right? These medications target visceral fat, which surrounds your heart, your abdomen, your liver, right? That's the bad fat. So even the women that are coming to see me, they're like, I don't know if I should be here. I'm kind of embarrassed. I do an in-body scan on them, and it shows me that their visceral fat is slightly elevated. I'm like, well, okay, mom has diabetes, dad has heart disease. Actually, this is you looking at this from a preventative standpoint, right? Because as those hormones start to change in perimenopause into menopause, this becomes a lot more difficult. And even for men too, andropause, as their testosterone goes down, they tend to start getting that belly.
Again, these are conversations that are happening all the time, and I'm so glad that we are having it out in the open where we can all learn together. We're going to take our first break, and as we do this, I really encourage you to share this episode with anyone that you have had the conversation with, because I know you have. We all have, or we've seen someone who looks fantastic and is so happy, and then behind their back you say, I bet they're on the shot. Let's leave the stigma of it behind. As you mentioned, it's a tool. We don't judge anyone when they get in their car and drive to work when they could have probably walked to work. It makes things easier. It's out there. Let's learn more about it. That's exactly what we are doing on this episode. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Live with Laura. I'm thrilled to be sitting across from Shannon Shores and also Jordan Kimler from Premier U, having the conversation that whether it's happening face-to-face, it's definitely happening online in every single one of my Facebook groups. We are talking about these weight loss medications, but it's not just that for women. You mentioned perimenopause earlier. That is something that is getting so much attention. And I'm so glad. And it almost it does. It ticks me off that our moms didn't have more information when they were going through it.
Yeah.
And menopause too.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely, even with my own mother, it just makes me go back, right? Like, oh, that's why that happened. Or even my grandmother, who ended up passing from dementia, she ended up with multiple hip fractures, fractures, elbows. We called her the bionic woman, but ended up with a lot of UTIs. And I'm like, gosh, if she would have just been given a little bit of hormones, like, it could have prevented all of that for her. So that's really my passion, is huge for it at this point, especially with the data that we have. We just hosted the PBS documentary, The M Factor 2, which is amazing. You can watch it online, pbs.com. They do accept a donation to watch it, but highly recommend for any woman, honestly, early 30s, to start watching that, and their spouses.
And I think the conversation that we're having right now is kind of twofold, because we are talking about the weight loss medications, but yet hormones. And as I've gotten older and read more about all of this, it does seem like so much of this goes hand in hand.
Absolutely, right? So I think when I say hormones or hormone replacement therapy, people go straight to sex hormones like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. But there's other hormones in your body. They're chemical signals that just tell your body to do certain things, right? Insulin's a hormone. Cortisol is a hormone, right? Ghrelin, leptin, those kind of hunger cue hormones are all attached here. So when I say hormones, I mean all hormones, including thyroid as well. So not just sex hormones.
So specifically with the GLP-1, and you explained it earlier.
It's okay.
But still, how is it working? You inject it and then you're just not hungry as much?
I mean, part of it, right? So part of it does suppress hunger, but that's not the ultimate goal, especially in my practice, right? What I find that it helps is that it helps with more sustained insulin release. So a lot of women, right, are not diabetic. Maybe they're not even pre-diabetic, but it doesn't mean they don't have insulin resistance or high insulin, which was me, okay? I wasn't diabetic or pre-diabetic, but my insulin was really high. And this is not something that's traditionally tested in primary care. Even endocrinology does not really look at this at all with their patients. I test a fasting insulin on every patient that I see, okay? Because there's a difference between normal and optimal, and we can kind of get into that at one point, but it helps the insulin spikes. So after you eat something, that insulin spikes and then it drops and we crash, right? So after we eat a lot of pasta, we're like, why are we so tired? That's because of that insulin spike. So there's things you can do more naturally, like take a walk, exercise after eating, things like that can help. But this helps more sustain insulin release, which allows for more energy for patients.
Which, if you are a mom who is in, or any woman who's in perimenopause or menopause, you need the extra energy.
You do. And there's a lot of reasons that my women struggle with low energy. So I'd love to dive deep into that. I had a patient right before driving over here this morning. She's like, hey, I'm here. I've had gastric bypass, gastric sleeve. I don't absorb vitamins well. I'm on this bariatric vitamin. I had a lot of complications with my surgeries. She has a personal trainer. She sees 2 to 3 days a week. She does meal prep. She does all these things, but she's starting to see the weight come back, and it's scaring her. And it's not necessarily even like food noise, right? Because that's a fun term everyone likes to throw around. I flat out told her it's because her hormones are changing. And she said, well, I'd love to hit the gym 4 days. I just don't have the energy. So we got to talking. I said, well, you've had bariatric surgery. I said, you're not even absorbing half of these vitamins that you're taking. And we got down to it. Her iron is so low that she's been fighting with her insurance company to get an iron infusion because they don't deem that she's low enough. They keep telling her that she has to take oral iron. Well, I've already told you nothing is going to absorb very well for her. So just something as simple as me looking into maybe getting her an iron infusion in my practice, like that could help her energy, also help her keep the weight off, all of these things. Because for her, it's a huge mental struggle. I mean, her body's been through it. Now hormones are starting to change. She's 41, and she's scared. She does not want this weight to come back.
And at 41, having gone through what she has gone through and just assuming what life looks like at 41 years old, it's very, very busy. She's thinking about this all the time.
All the time, constantly. She said her brain just can't even shut off to it.
So it impacts
everything. Her production at work, we talked about that. She's high level at her job, and it's obviously impacted her production because she's like, well, now I'm trying to fit in maybe smaller frequent meals and then adding in another day with the trainer, but I just don't have the energy and I want to. Like, it's not that I'm not a driven individual, and I can see that. She's sitting across from me. I can read people very, very well. I'm like, no, she's got it. She just needs these tools inserted to make her more successful in her current plan, not to make it more complicated.
And Shannon, I want to bring you back into this conversation because you have been using these medicines. Obviously, you're coming on a podcast to say you have been using them.
Yeah.
Have you noticed the stigma going away?
Yeah. So it's so funny. It's kind of like we're talking about, I'm on this podcast talking about it like I've been juicing, right? Not exactly. Shannon, tell me what you've been taking. I talk about it openly because I know that some people are still very intimidated by them. But like Jordan said, there's so much research. We've been using these for so long. And taking one of these medications, if you're a personal trainer listening to this or a dietitian, this is not taking away from your business. This should be another tool that your person can use to be more successful. And I think the other thing we have to get around is what she was talking about, the insurance company. Premier U, like a lot of places, is cash base, not letting insurance kind of dictate what Jordan can do. But people feel like they pay this premium, I want to use my insurance. Well, listen to the case that she just said. How long has this woman been jumping through hoops and putting her health on hold because her insurance company is not looking at the full picture? Come on. We need to be about well care and not sick care, and a lot of insurance is just about sick care. Invest in ourselves. We invest in our hair. We invest in our skin. I mean, the outfits that we're wearing today. But in the same breath, people may show up with the best handbag in the world and earrings and all that and be like, you want me to pay $99 cash? Does my insurance pay for that?
Yeah.
Girl, no, it doesn't. Invest in yourself because your future self is going to thank you because this is a different system and we're shaking it up. So that's why you're thinking, is this new? Is this buzz? No, we're just getting louder about it and saying, why not use it? And why get stuck with someone saying, are you sure you want to do that? Are you going to pay to do that? Yes, I'm going to pay for what I need to live my best life.
And I'm glad you brought up the money aspect. I wasn't sure if the conversation would go there, but since it has, can you share the cost of some of these things?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, pricing definitely varies, right? Per patient, per plan. What tools are we going to need to bring in? But to see me is $99 for an initial consult. And then from there, we can go through specifics of exactly cost because it's also potentially dosing dependent, why we're utilizing the peptide, all of those things go into account. So, I think also you should caution people that are like, yep, this is our price, this is what we charge.
It's not a one size fits all.
Exactly. you don't want to go somewhere that's a one size fits all.
No.
And also getting the other program aspects of it, like there has to be several layers. Like we do metabolic restoration. Someone just said to me this morning, I hate that your Facebook tag says Premier U medical weight loss. I do too. Put it on the record. But we got flagged for a IV post. Anyone who does ads and things on Facebook knows this, right? As Facebook, Mark, if you're listening, I'm talking to you, please. But we got flagged for an IV post. There was nothing against the algorithm or anything else, but there was an ingredient in there that they questioned, right? Facebook is so picky. And we got flagged for it like 9 months ago. So we've been in review, so I cannot change our name because we are so much more than weight loss. When Jordan started this practice years ago, well, we had to say medical weight loss because it was all the trend and the craze. Well, now that we've moved forward, we're so much more than that. We are a program. We're the place you want to go for that future self to have sustained weight loss because what Jordan's going to do is not just look at, well, first off, she's not even going to talk about your BMI because who cares about that? We're going to look at muscle, right? What are your goals? How did you get here? How can we best support you? We have metabolic testing because think about this, Laura. Have you ever used like MyFitnessPal or the Lose It app? That's a guess. There's guessing based on your age, weight, and gender. We're not guessing anymore. So we've invested in tools to create this program for metabolic restoration because we don't want to guess because your body is different than her body. Her body's different than my body, right? And so we want to yes, you have to invest in yourself, but this is for ongoing success versus just a yo-yo time in your life where you're like, I got the quick fix. Because think about anything as a quick fix. It doesn't stay. It doesn't last.
It doesn't stick.
What intrigues me even more about you is you mentioned $99 for a consult, yet you continue to meet with people.
Exactly.
How often do you meet with your patients?
On average, at minimum every 3 months for myself. Now, my nursing staff, my medical staff, they're meeting with you every month if you're on a GLP-1. They're doing in-body scans, going over that. If there's issues, obviously I'm coming into the picture, right? But traditionally every 3 months with the provider and then every month with a medical staff. Yeah.
What does that appointment look like? Are labs being taken every time?
Sometimes it kind of depends on the treatment plan. We're definitely utilizing the in-body scan, looking at body fat percentage, muscle mass, talking to our patients about side effects. Maybe that appointment's regarding nutrition because that's a whole consult, our consult in itself. Maybe we're talking about exercise. It really varies per patient, honestly. It's not cookie cutter, which is so hard for me to answer a lot of these questions sometimes from people because like, this could look different for you compared to your friend. And that's where I really try to set the expectations within my initial patient consults. Hey, I know I see your friend Susie, right? You can't compare your plan of care to Susie's plan of care. She has different medical history, family history. So I'm really, really good about doing that. And I feel like since I set that expectation at that initial appointment, they understand it, right?
So every month with someone from the nursing staff, every 3 months with you, for how long? Because that's a question that I've had from some friends who said, I don't know if I'll ever get off it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's provider discretion, right? How frequent are we in maintenance mode? Do we need to bring more tools in? Are hormones stable? Vitamin, all of that, right, comes into play. There are patients currently I see every 6 months, but usually that's minimum that I'm seeing them, yeah.
From what I've seen, you keep them cold in the refrigerator, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
How do you, the medicines, not your patients, that'd be weird.
That would be odd.
Cold plunge.
But what does it look like for someone who has never seen it? Is it like an EpiPen? Is it a bottle with a syringe? I really don't know.
Someone who hates needles, like, right? Like, I admire what Jordan does. She makes my job so easy. But, you know, my mom was a nurse. Nursing was nothing I could consider because I was afraid. One, I don't like blood, and two, I don't like needles. But I can tell you that it's a very, for us, because it's a compounded medication, right? People are getting syringes pre-filled, so there's no guess.
Oh, okay.
Right? But they're getting pre-filled syringes. that because we don't want people to guess and be like, what did she say last time? Because as she's going to dose accordingly to you, right? So you don't have to, we take the guesswork out of it, individualized to you. But really, quite honestly, I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it. I remember the first time I was like, can you do it? And we do have people who come in every week to get the injections because they just can't do it. So we'll hold your hand if you need to. But really, it is a small insulin. You're squeezing a little bit of fat here, and you're putting it in there, and you cannot feel it. And let me tell you, I'm a big baby. So this is not an IM. It's not going into a muscle. You know, you're not injecting like an EpiPen, like, right? It's a small stick. You can't feel it, and it's easy peasy. But I think people get so scared of that. They're like, I'm scared of needles. So am I. But this is not that experience. And we think about as a kid getting your vaccines or things like that.
So once a week, how is it determined when? And does it matter when?
That's a great question. So yes, you can be strategic with it. Certain patients have stronger effects the first 5 days. So I will tell you, even with myself, weekends were always harder for me to stay on track with diet. So I found I would inject on Thursdays. So the medication's highest in my system throughout the weekend, because when I'm at work, it's all work, right? And I can meal prep and eat what I have and have a protein shake. But when weekend is here, sporting events, you know, being a mom, and it's all hands on deck. So it's like whatever I eat, whatever's there, I eat. So you can be strategic with it. I've also had patients split their weekly injections into 2. Because maybe they have a little bit of nausea with it for the first 24 to 48 hours. Not debilitating nausea, right? I think that's a really big misunderstanding. It's usually like, ooh, I ate the wrong thing. Maybe I had coffee on an empty stomach. Can't quite do that anymore. So they will split that dose into 2 smaller ones, and they don't have those side effects.
With the side effects, in some of the mom groups I've in, people have asked when during the day I should do it. What advice do you have there?
Some patients can take it anytime. I also found with myself, I'm a super nauseous person. I get car sick, planes, all of that. I'm a Dramamine queen is what I like to say. So I did nighttime. I would inject right before bed. So most of that nausea would occur during bed.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is exactly where I was leading in some of the things I've read, where the feedback has been, if it does make you queasy, do it
right before bed.
Yep.
And don't wait, like right before bed.
Okay.
Well, when you say Jordan, too, though, is that
that's
one of the things that you talk about, though, is that if you're someone who is super nauseated or had nausea, you might not go to Sima. You might put them on TERS. Like, so she has a great success with Sima. I'm on TERS, which is the GIP, right? And so it's like, I don't know, the older sister, right? Maybe the younger sister, I don't know. However, but it was the next step up from Sema, and you have less that nausea symptoms. But that's why it's important to go to someone to talk about that, because if you're just free will in your health and add to cart, you don't have someone really asking that to be like, you know what, you should probably try this versus that one. And that's important too.
Exactly. So most women that are in perimenopause, menopause, I will recommend tirzepatide. I do feel like the cost to benefit ratio is there for them too for utilizing that. Just for awareness, tirzepatide tends to cost more than semaglutide. Okay. It's newer, so that's another reason, and it has an extra peptide in there, so that's why we see that. But I do in general recommend that in that perimenopause, menopause transition, just because I find that my women are more nauseous during that time. So in general. Yeah.
Now, something that unfortunately has given these medications a bad rap is what we see online with celebrities. Ozempic face comes to mind, where all of a sudden we see usually a female, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What is going on here?
They're losing too fast, too quick. They're going up way too high on their dose is what's happening. They're just losing too fast, too quick. So I'll give you an example. There has been a patient of mine, a male patient that I've been treating for over a year for hormones, optimizing his testosterone. He works in an office of all women. Okay, so about 20 women work with him. And he's watched all of them go on these GLP-1 medications. And he finally came to me because he is pre-diabetic. I've been begging him to go on one of these, right? I'm like, listen, like at this point, you trust me. We've got your testosterone optimized. You're trying to do the things. I'm like, I really think you need to start to insert this tool. So his last visit with me last week, he finally said, Jordan, I'm going to do it. And I said, oh, great. I was like, I want to prevent diabetes, heart disease in you. We've optimized the testosterone. It's just not enough at this point. He said, and the only reason I'm doing that is because I can tell the women that I work with who sees you in your practice and who buys online. Mm-hmm. And I said,
how?
What do you mean by that?
Mm-hmm.
He said, they look awful, Jordan. They don't eat. Their hair's gone. They have sunken skin. And it's hard for me because they're not my patients. I don't know where this went wrong, but I can assume the dose is too high, they're not eating, and those are the two main things. And nobody's addressed some of the root cause issues with them.
Mm-hmm. And it's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable.
As soon as they come off, it's going to...
And it's really scary. Mm-hmm. Especially, I'm thinking about the women you're mentioning, their kids watching that.
Right.
Maybe her parents are still alive, maybe a partner. And you see your partner withering away, that would be terrifying.
Mm-hmm. We just don't allow it to happen in our practice. So if patients are really fighting back, like want more medication, if the in-body scan is not favorable for going up on the dose, or we know that they are not working on their nutrition, they're not eating at all, we will not go up on their dose. And we've lost patients to that, but that's okay. You know, this isn't about that quick fix. This is about addressing the root cause issues, making sure that this is safe for them to take. So I thought that was pretty impactful, the fact that he noticed that in his work.
And he asked around to say, so where did you go to?
Mm-hmm.
Again, conversation that everyone's having. I'm so glad we are having it out in the open. We are going to take another quick break. When we come back, we are going to find out how else these medications might better your life, because some of the things these ladies have told me off camera, I'm flabbergasted by. So that's a tease. We'll be right back with Live with Laura. We have a few more moments together here on Live with Laura as we sit across from Shannon Shores and also Jordan Kimler from Premier U. And we've been talking about weight loss medications. We are all three women, so this has really been more female focused. And I want to mention that because we tend to blame ourselves for just about everything, right? And any woman you talk to will say, well, it's me. I'm causing the weight gain. And you referenced it with some of your patients. I should just hit the gym a fourth time this week, or I should be better about focusing on the protein. And sometimes it's not anything you're doing. It's just what's already going on in your body. Mm-hmm. And I'm guessing relief goes across the faces of so many of your patients when you say, honey, you are doing everything. Yeah. Let's just make it a bit better.
A little bit easier, right? And that's where it is that big misunderstanding that, especially from not all personal trainers, but some personal trainers, that my patients are taking a shortcut, because that's not it. My husband, I already talked about his initial reaction to me going on it. Now he recommends it to women that are working out with him, and like, hey, like, you're busting your butt in here. Like, you need to go see my wife. She needs to get some labs on you and have a conversation. So he's super open about it now, which is amazing to kind of watch him transform. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's just a tool. It's a tool, and my patients just, sense relief is the best way to put it. You almost see the tension just go.
And I'm glad you mentioned your husband, because we do want our partners to support us in what we are doing. And it took some time for him to come around and just flat out learn more about it.
Yeah, and I think it was the fear component, right? And I think that's for a majority of people. It's like, you're just going to lose muscle. You're just not going to eat. And so, but after learning how much better I felt, how much better of a mother I am, a wife I am, how much more energy I have, and how I did utilize it as a tool, and how now I've done that for thousands and thousands of patients, that it was the right tool for me.
The muscle loss is a real concern. That's something my girlfriends and I, when we're talking about it, go back to. What do you have to say to someone who is fearful that they will lose their muscle on these medicines?
Monitoring is important. So utilizing an in-body scan, DEXA scan, DEXA's bone density. Typically, insurance does not cover bone density scans until you're 65. By the time you're 65, it's too late. So I'm recommending my patients get one of those done. We will soon have one in our office. I'm very, very excited about that. It's not something I would do every month with my patient, but maybe every 6 months, every year, just to monitor. What we're also learning too is that the muscle loss that we may be seeing in the early stages of taking these medications, maybe it was inefficient muscle to begin with. So
What does that mean?
well, muscle, so there's a lot of connections with muscle to brain and the fibers themselves. So maybe that muscle wasn't even productive anyway. Okay, so that's a really big concept. So I'll let you kind of sit with that. But also, we talked yesterday in our practice, because we do a lot of continuing education in our practice, that even with a DEXA scan, which is gold standard at looking at visceral fat, the DEXA scan can't tell the difference between losing fat surrounding your liver and actual lean mass loss. So, are we actually losing that much muscle? Not typically, if my patients are strength training, getting their protein in. I had already discussed, though, if I have that patient, I know we're starting to see that skeletal muscle mass decline on an in-body scan, it's having that conversation. Are we exercising? How's our nutrition? If it's not there, you're not getting more medication from us. But realistically, yes, you can lose muscle on these medications without the appropriate guidance.
Let's talk about expectations. And earlier in this conversation, you said everything is customized. It's not cookie cutter, because as you mentioned, what's going to work for you, different for me. But say a woman who wants to lose 30 pounds, 40 pounds, what is the progression that she should expect if she is working legitimately with a provider and not just pulling something offline?
Realistically, 6 months would be healthy weight loss, right? Because anything more than 2 to 3 pounds a week, we know from research that it is majority of muscle most of the time.
But 6 months, that's amazing.
Yeah. So you can see that, and the joint pain is relieved, so then they're more active. It's pretty impressive. Now, some patients I see, they're like, oh my gosh, 30 pounds, 6 months, that doesn't seem fast enough. That's the majority of the reaction I get, not what the reaction you just gave.
Shannon, what other advice do you have to give to your girlfriends when they are, do you think we should do this? When they're having those conversations?
You know, my thing is that, as Jordan mentioned, we hosted the M Factor 2, and we had over 150 women show up. It was amazing. And it was so interesting to watch it. It was really about taking care of yourself and doing the things, right? Having the conversations. Quit having these secret conversations. If you continue to have the same conversation that you're hearing, you're going to eventually annoy yourself and your friends, right? Talking about the 6 months. So a lot of times, you know, since I'm in the business development, you know, we put packages together for 6 months paid in full, right? Oh, that's probably for the business, because they give a 6 month runway, right? If we're looking at business, 6 month runway for the business. No, you know why I like 6 months paid in full? Because as women, if we're paying monthly and all of a sudden it's that 15th of the month and it hits, and all of a sudden that same day that your payment hit, little Johnny needs a new baseball glove, maybe your car blew a tire, what's the first expenses women we're going to cut? That expense for us. We're going to cancel. So 6 months gives the financial out of it. So I'd say to my girlfriends, spend the money on yourself, because you're going to spend the money on little Johnny's baseball glove, which we just spent one for $300, without thinking twice, right? So spend the money on yourself. Invest yourself. Because I don't know about you, Laura. You know who I want to be in 20 and 30 years? Just as strong and as sharp as I am today. I don't want to be broken down. I just started tap dancing 2 years ago in my 40s because I wanted to learn it. I want to be a tap dancing granny that they're like, come on, girl, get on the stage, show us what you got. But you know how I get there? I got to do the work today. So what I say to you is, quit talking about it, quit shaming yourself, and just do it. Your future self is going to thank you, and it starts today.
talking about the future, what do you see for the future of these medications?
The sky's the limit. I mean, there's already a drug in stage 3 clinical trials right now that is blowing tirzepatide out of the water, which right now is the best one that we have, right, for weight loss. We're seeing gastric bypass level weight loss with it, which is amazing, right? It's a great utility, non-surgical, love that, but in the wrong hands, it could be a problem, because right now you can buy it online through some of the research pharmacies, and but I can see where if patients are losing too fast, too quick, it's going to be a huge problem. Huge problem.
What advice do you have for people who has someone close to them who's been having the conversation, probably already annoying themselves with it? That's me. What do you have to say to the good friend or the partner that is still on the fence about encouraging that person to make the call or to set up the appointment?
I think it always is that how long you've been talking about this, right? And it really is that what changes if you do nothing?
Nothing.
Nothing, right? And it's like, and I think when you put it very plain, very simple, if you do nothing, nothing's going to happen. So yes, take a step towards it. Have a consultation. That's what I say to anyone. Is that go see Jordan, or if you're not, in this area, find someone who's willing to talk to you about a personalized plan for you and have the conversation. Bring the fears, right? I'm fearful I'm going to lose muscle. And hear what they have to say with you. Ask them, how do you dose, right? What is your plan? What is your timeline? Start there. And if you're a loved one who's seeing this person struggle, to say, hey, what can we do together? You want me to go with you? What are you fearful of? Make the appointment, because it starts with education and that key to ask the questions first. Because if not, we continue just to bring this up in the group chat, nothing happens. And that weight continues to creep, right? It continues to creep because our energy, because it's not about what we're doing this, right? Our energy goes down. So our movement becomes less and we keep beating ourselves up. So quit blaming yourself, make the appointment, have the conversation, and quit judging one another, for the love of Pete. Someone just came on Facebook the other day and said, gossip is so real at this age. We're in our 40s. It is, because mean girls still exist and we still want to point fingers. Hey, you know what? Straighten each other's crowns. Make the appointment, because we have one life to live. And I don't know about you, Laura, but I want to live my best life possible.
And I'm just so excited about hearing the 6 months. Like, that's Christmas time.
Yes.
You make the appointment now, something that you've been struggling with for so long. And if it's going to impact your entire life, why not check it out?
Right.
Can you imagine your 2027 self going, we got this, girl or guy, but it is taking the steps now and not waiting, because nothing changes if you don't change.
I'm inspired. I'm going to send this conversation to my best friend who doesn't even live in the area, but I'm going to send it to her as a nudge, because it's something that she has been talking about. And I have said, just go check it out. Why not? Yeah. Always good to see you, ladies. Thank you for being so open and transparent, not just about the patients you work with, but the vulnerability of your own stories too.
Yes.
This has been like Girl Power Hour. I am excited. And I always appreciate all of you. If you're not listening or watching, then why are we doing this? But you are. And we are so thankful for the gift of your time. Until next time, thank you for listening. Thank you for learning. And thank you for being Live with Laura.